Okay, on ABT Lockdown Live, we've had Brim guys, we've had Bass guys, but we haven't had a BARRA guy yet. And I thought if we're going to start with BARRA, let's start with the biggest BARRA guy there is. We've got Karim De Ridder here live from, where do you live, mate? Cairns, is it, in North Queensland?
Yeah, I'm about 40 minutes south of Cairns in Fishery Falls, so it's a little sort of just a country pub really, and a few houses up on a bit of acreage, so on the base of the rainforest pretty much. So
I can see it out the window, mate. You've got rainforest in the background there, mate, so great place to ride out the Armageddon.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We don't see too many people up here, so can't get the corona too easy.
No worries, mate. What do you do for a 9 to 5? We all know you as just a BARRA slaying machine, but what's your 9 to 5 job?
Health and safety inspector for the Queensland government. So mostly construction is my sort of forte, but being in a regional area, we do a bit of everything. So farming, we do industrial stuff, but yeah, mostly construction-based inspections and that sort of thing. And
I can imagine them picking you to go in there because, you know, the little 5.5-foot guy with who's got the pirate's dream chest like this doesn't get much traction, I think, with the builders, although you walk in there and say do it, they'd be just saluting, wouldn't they?
Yeah, most of the time. It's not pretty good with them there, or not too bad, so we don't get too many dramas.
Mate, you're a gentle giant for sure, mate. We spent many years with you on the BARRA tour, and you guys, of course, with your partner Craig Griffiths, are a team really to watch every year when it comes on the BARRA tour. The thing is, if you don't win Team of the Year, someone's had to have a cracker of a year because you're that consistent. Run us through some of your. I know we all know you from the BARRA tour. ABT guys know you because they read about you every year in the BARRA tour. What other tournaments, though, have you hung your hat on? I know it was at the Nationals when you won it for the first time, but what other big tournaments have you won that you've sort of slipped under our radar for?
Yeah, we got asked this question a while back. We don't really keep tabs on what we've won. Probably run through, like most of the time we do saltwater comps. The ABT is generally the only freshwater comp we do, so our saltwater BARRA is sort of the main one. So we do Hinchinbrook-based ones. So there's a Hinchinbrook Invitational. We don't do that now. That's because that's about the same time as the Nationals. Yeah. And then there's another one at the end of the year in September. We haven't actually won that one yet, myself and Craig. We've always used to get beaten by Millard and Ethan back in those days. I think we've come runner-up about 3 or 4 times. But yeah, that's probably one on the list that we've got to do. There's the Faust Invitational is another freshwater one we do. The Rocky BARRA Bash, which is at the start of the year. Yep. That we won that one as well last year after the Nationals. And then we've done we won a Bass Sastic years ago as well, that one down in the Wonga. Generally any of the tournament style ones. We don't do the community sort of comps much, but it's just the tournament style ones. We've been and done most of the BARRA stuff. So.
Well, it's gold, mate. I know there's one we've started, and hopefully by the end of this year we'll get to be able to fish it this year. Is that the Venom Rods BARRA Australian Open, mate? That one's got a pretty flash-looking trophy that might need an name on. You might have to have a go at that.
Yeah, it's not bad, and good prize money too. So I think it's a bit more appealing for us because we spend a lot of money to do the comp. So those ones with the bigger sort of price tags on them sort of can fund your rest of your year, and that's what we use. Any wins we gather through the years, we use that to fund our next year. Yeah. Doing tournaments is an expensive thing to do, but yeah, we love doing it. The competing side of it's what keeps us going, and the camaraderie with everyone else, all the anglers we see, just those times of the year through the year. So.
Awesome, mate. I've been to the Nationals. I've seen your camping set up. You did said had a full-on tent with an air conditioner in it. You don't do it uncomfortably, do you?
No, I think it's a bit humid up there. Cairns is humid, but the territory is next level. So, we want to be able to sleep good and rest good and still fish good the next day, and it's a marathon of a comp. So, we set up a decent camp and do a decent pre-fish as well because we're not really that experienced in the river. And, it's worked out for us the last couple of years, which is good.
You've done really well up there, mate. You've done Queensland and ABT members proud, mate, because as soon as an ABT member won the Nationals, we're like, yep, there's some of our boys. So don't worry, we're all climbing on the wagon, mate. Don't worry about that at all. Hey, one question I've got for you, and look, the people that are all watching tonight on a Friday night are all, the footy's not on. We've got no sport on anymore, so we want to hear some great stories from guys like you that have probably caught more BARRA than all the rest of us put together. So tell me through your best ABT moment or your best ABT fish. Like, talk about a fish that you caught and landed or a fish that you hooked and lost that really sticks in your memory as defining the ABT tour for you, the BARRA tour.
There's probably a fair few. Off the top of my head, there was actually probably when the Fouse Point came alive, which was maybe 2014, maybe when the dam dropped fairly low. Craig and myself and Wecky and the boys, we sort of found it before the other guys did and established ourselves on that point, and we had some unreal sessions on that in that year. So yeah, there was a session there. I think we got like 25 fish or something, and they're all meteries, and we were like, you'd get like a 105 to the side of the boat, and you wouldn't even bother measuring it because you'd know straight away the length of it. And pretty much we used to say we'd just kick them off the back deck unless they looked about a 110, and then we'd chuck them on the mat to see if we get a couple of centimetre upgrades. So
I think that was the tournament that took a metre 13 average to win the tournament, which is a fish of a lifetime for a lot of people, isn't it?
Yeah, it was unreal, and I think it fished well for another tournament after that, and like we had another session, and it was like 50 fish in the one session. So it was insane that point when it was firing. The weed was perfect level and that sort of thing, and it still maintained itself for like a year or two after when the winds were right, and there was a lot of people fishing it and still produced. So.
It's what I've learnt from doing the Barra tour for many years, and I'll stick my hand up as being one of Australia's worst Barra fishermen, that the wind is such an important thing for the Barra guys. Explain to our Bream and Bass guys how important the wind is, because the Bream and the Bass guys, if it's blowing, it helps the bite, but we don't care what direction it's blowing from. Water temperatures don't make that much difference.
Yeah.
It's important for Barra fishing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty much the current generator on a lake that doesn't. If it's not dropping water out, there's no current really, apart from inflow from the rivers or creeks. And generally, when we do the comp, it's later in the year, so the only sort of current generation you get is a wind. And that's what pushes the bait in certain areas, and that's what gets the fish in those areas as well. So any subtle change, especially when you've been pre-fishing certain areas, if you get a directional change, it can change the spot instantly pretty much.
Yep.
And that's always been a key to be consistent in those comps, is knowing where to be, and I suppose based on your pre-fish, where to be when those winds shift. So sometimes it does weird stuff, like it'll shift and you'll think it'll go dead, and it'll just go nuts when you can't explain. Like we had one on Fouse Point, it went southwesterly, went straight over the top of us, and it went ballistic, and we just couldn't work out why. But those sort of things happen sometimes.
And I think the Barra themselves seem much more mobile than we think they are. Like you can find some spots where they're a Barra, but a Barra moves a lot, especially after dark, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's amazing how quick, and even if when we were running the basic 360 before the Mega came out, you'd have your refresh on your screen going all the time, and you think you could establish where the fish was moving. If you had a slower refresh, you had no idea. It'd just be on the screen 1 second and go on the next. So, trying to work at the speed, like a lot of it changed depending on, the fish itself, but not everyone was doing the same sort of speed. But yeah, it was amazing. Some fish would just roll out that quickly. You're like, oh, yeah. So
that's it. And I suppose, again, for the Bream and the Bass guys, a Barra tournament, a lot of guys will move to a spot, stay in that spot the whole time, and if you pick a good enough spot, the fish will nearly come to you all night. And that's something, again, that's hard to get a head around, because Bream and Bass guys, we just love moving around and finding fresh fish all the time. I tried that for many years for Barra fishing. I'm definitely not good enough to make that happen, but it's a real change of tournament style for these guys, I think. So if anyone gets a chance to come up and have a crack at the Barra Tour, and who knows, this year with the COVID stuff around, maybe the Barra Tour might be the first events we get to this year. It's a great time with good guys. The bite is insane, and learning those techniques is a real, for me, it's really satisfying to finally learn how to do it and to catch some fish at the end of it. It's a new challenge for a lot of fishermen, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an awesome event. And really sort of you learn. I think you learn quickly on the tour if you're doing something wrong, or if and you got people next to you that are doing the right stuff. What to do. So it's a good one. Even if you just do it as a learning experience and you want to do social fishing after, you can learn a lot on the tour.
Exactly. We've got some footage here that you filmed in an old AFC, or not an old, a newish AFC. We talked about the night fishing and fishing around Fouse Point, but the G guys have really developed some great techniques to pinpoint the fish that are sort of locked down during the day. If you find a patch of fish during the day, you've got some pretty cool techniques to do it. And I want you to run us through a couple of the lures that you use for it, and just take us through that vertical technique, because we've got some cutaway playing in the background here.
Yep.
A big man just muscling some fish from under the boat. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the daytime fishing is a little bit different on the lakes, and so we sort of found out a little pattern with the vertical stuff where you find sort of schools of fish that were locked in on structure or locked in certain areas. A lot of it was jig and vibes, so we used to use the Madness. Actually, when we first discovered these were what we were catching most of our fish on, and it was amazing because it was a subtle difference to all the other vibes in the market. They, for some reason, outfished in 5-1, and we only had like 5 of these things when we first got them. And I remember I had one that exact colour. I had to swim for it when I lost it one day in pre-fish because I wanted it for the comp. So and I got it back. I lost it in the Nationals actually the first year. So it had like 50 fish on it, and they got like internal wire so you can bend them and they don't break. So they just got a silicone coating over it. But yeah, they went ballistic.
Hold it up nice and close to the camera, mate, so we can see that lure. It's called the Madness 5. That's it.
Yeah. Yep. So Madness Japan make it. So that one's the 93mm one, and also there's an 83 or something that we use as well.
Yeah.
So that was sort of the predominant vibe we used. Sometimes we alternated to Transams as well. So Jackal, the ones that Harry used to bring in, the Transams, they always catch everywhere. Yeah. Sometimes if they wanted a bit more subtle on the bottom, we'd chuck a Transam and they get a bit too. And then sometimes a bigger profile. So that's when we pull out like a Samaki 125 or even the big rattling sort of lures. We used to use some of those and they get some bites as well. So, but yeah, pretty much the trick was to find those schools of fish in structure and watching our sound as we used to sit on our down imaging. So, and you just watch them come through. And if they were coming through in a certain way, you knew exactly when you were going to get a bite. And you just go hard and get them. You go, because you're sitting in trees everywhere and usually on laydowns or whatever structure that they're on, you got to get them to the top quick, and usually in like 20, 30 foot of water sometimes. And as soon as they start jumping, that's when you get control of them because you can move their head.
Yeah.
You can have a metre 15 fish on, and as long as you can control their head, you can control them into the boat. Generally, you get them in the boat pretty green, but they used to get in pretty quick. So
yeah, no room for weakness in your tackle, is there?
Nah, yeah, you got to be confident in your knots and your lures and on your gear, and yeah, just go hard. And sometimes they're just a freak fish and they just dust you, but a lot of the time we didn't lose a lot, depending on where we're fishing. So, and then the other ones we were using, these ones are sort of the spoons. Probably, the bass guys probably use them a fair bit. And so we use 2 different sizes. That's a mega spoon, that one. You could eat your breakfast with that one. And that's a little 4.5 inch. That one's about 8 or 9 inch. That's the Ben Parker, that one. So, yeah, we imported them in from America just to give them a go when they were sort of suspending out in the open a bit more.
Yeah.
You'd run an assist off the front as well as a big treble off the back. And you'd get good, when they were fired up in big schools, you'd get some good reactions out of them. And we had some crazy sessions on them where, like, you'd miss a barra on the 9 inch or 8 inch spoon and they'd come back chafed up and you just go, wow, how did that thing get down and come out without having to run the assists and that sort of thing. But pretty cool to get bites on that stuff. And, yeah, we had some unreal sessions on them and still use them today. And the reason we actually worked them out, I did a saltwater trip with Ethan Farrell about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was in good time of the tide, and we found schooling fish, and we tried them for 2 or 3 days. We couldn't get a bite out of them. And Ethan had a handful of these things, and I think it was the morning that we were going to go, he chucked one on, and we just started to get cracking them, and he got a metre 15 salty on it, and it was an eye-opener just to see the difference, chuck something you hadn't chucked on before and get a reaction out of them. So we can probably thank Ethan for giving us that info.
Mate, it's always the ones with the itchy brains that get things happening like that. Explain exactly how do you work those spoons?
So pretty much, I don't know if any of the listeners watched. So if you watched, actually last year, Chris Zaldane was cracking some. I think it might have been Gunnersville or somewhere, one of those lakes. And he was exactly how he was working. So you chuck it out, flutter down through the school, and then it's big lifts with your rod. So you need a fairly stiff rod. We'll actually throw them the big ones on our swim bait rods because the only ones we could throw them out and handle the lure. Yeah. And then big lifts and let it flutter down. And generally just as they eat it on the flutter, and just as you rip it again, you're hooked up and you're going. So, but yeah, it's a jig and spoon pretty much. It's a flutter down. They eat it on the bite, but those big reaction fast lifts got the reactions out of the fish. So,
and that thing would be mad fluttering on the way down, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Had a sick flutter, and you could just feel it vibrate on the way down, and it's amazing the reactions you get out of them. It just must be big baits. They just commit a lot more when they get fired up. So,
no, that's awesome, mate. It's a good bit of information, because a lot of BARRA guys don't really like getting out of their comfort zone, I suppose. You know, like we've got guys, and I fall into the same trap as well. You find a BARRA lure that works and you stick to it, but you find BARRA on your sounder that look a certain way. Yeah. Sometimes there's better ways to get them to react and do it. And, guys like you that are out there trying the new and different techniques and sharing that information, mate, it's really appreciated by the rest of us. As I said, hopefully this year we'll get to do the BARRA tour at the end of the year. You and your partner, Craig Griffiths, how many times have you won the Team of the Year? Because I know you won it last year, but the year before the old dudes beat you, the likely lads, but you must have had it 4 or 5 times now, that trophy.
Yeah, I think we won it 3 in a row before Jeff and Phil won last year, and then we won again, year before, and then we won again last year. So, yeah, we've done it 4 times together, and then Craig's done it with Shorty as well a year or two.
He's won it with Shorty as well, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yep. So that's I think AO or TOY in the BARRA tour is probably one of the toughest to get, because the consistency you need over those 4 events on 4 different lakes or 3 different lakes is what really makes it hard work. So
that's right. A couple of years ago, we changed it so that you couldn't even drop a bad event. It's whoever did the best over the whole tour did the best. So it's there's no room for not even a bad tournament. It's even a bad night can put you out of the counter.
Yeah, exactly right.
Awesome, mate. Well, look, we really appreciate your time on ABT Lockdown Live, mate. You are in a great part of the world to get through this. And look, let's all hope that we can get together and have a beer at the BARRA tour at the end of the year, and maybe share some more stories about that incredible bite, the incredible fight, and the incredible experience, which is BARRA fishing.
Yeah, I can't wait. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get over this and get over the hill and get back to some sort of normality. And I'll be keen to get a BARRA down in those lakes down near Mackay again. That's for sure. Yeah,
indeed, mate. And look, hey, if all goes really well, maybe the Australian Open. So I know we're going to see you at that, mate, because you want to show me the money. So thanks, Karim. Thanks for joining us, mate.
No worries. Thanks, G. Cheers.